Hello folks, welcome to this series of AWS services. In this series of videos, we are talking about AWS networking and various VPC components which are involved. So by now we have got a fair idea about various VPC components, their features, how they collaborate with each other to provide you the full-fledged network. In this particular video, we are going to talk about the security aspect of the VPC. So VPC is not only the logical group of resources, this is also a service to manage the security around these resources. The security groups around the resources and the network access control list around the subnet are the main security components in VPC. In the video where we talked about that how the traffic flows inside the VPC and how the traffic goes outside the VPC, we saw that it needs to pass through the network access control list and it needs to pass through the security group. So when route table is more concerned about the routes, the networking aspect of the subnets, network access control list and security group are more concerned about the security aspect of the subnets and the resources. Now we have seen how security group works. If you have not seen that, look at my previous videos. There we have got a video dedicated to the security group. To understand network access control list, you need to understand how security group works. So in this video, we are going to understand how the network access control list works, and then we will be comparing it with security group. So first of all, network access control list provides security at subnet level. So when you create a VPC, it also creates a default network access control list. So when you create a subnet, and if you want to customize the security around the subnet, you will be creating network access control list. And network access control list is nothing but set of inbound and outbound rules. The inbound rules dictates that what kind of traffic is allowed or denied to come to the subnet. And the outbound rules dictates that what kind of traffic is allowed or explicitly denied to go out of the subnet. So though these rules look similar to what we have in security group, but there are some significant differences. We'll talk about those differences in a while. For now, let's see a structure of a network access control list and how it is situated in the whole VPC ecosystem. So as you can see here, the network ACLs are associated to a subnet. One subnet has to be associated with one and only one network access control list. But on the other hand, one network access control list can be associated with multiple subnets, which would mean that same set of inbound and outbound rules will be applied to all the subnets which are associated with the network access control list. So if you create a subnet and if you don't create a network access control list separately, then the main network access control list of the VPC would be implicitly associated with your subnet, which would mean that all the traffic going inside the subnet and outside the subnet will follow according to the main network access control list. Having said that, you can create your own network access control list, define proper inbound and outbound rules, and you can associate that to one or multiple subnets. So this is where network access control list is situated in the whole VPC ecosystem. The traffic, once directed by the router, needs to pass through the network access control list, and then only it can go and enter into a subnet if it is an inbound traffic. On the other hand, for outbound traffic, only if it passes through the network access control list, then it can go to further router and gateways, etc. So let's go and see a network access control list in our account. So in the last video, we created a VPC in this particular region, Oregon region. And here let's go and look at our my demo VPC. And you can see here a default network access control list has been associated here. So let's go and see content of the network ACL. So click on that. It has got a network ACL ID as usual. It is associated with this VPC. But the main thing about a network access control list is inbound and outbound rules. So this is where you can see all the inbound rules in the inbound rules tab. And you can see here there are two rules. Now if you compare it with the security group, there are two extra fields here. First one is your rule ID. And see the last field where you will write whether it is allowed or denied. Now to first understand this allowed deny field, what it really means here is So the first rule says that all traffic on all protocols and on all port ranges from every possible source is allowed. Whereas the second rule says that all traffic from all protocol and all port ranges from any source is denied. So first thing you can observe here is that network access control rules can explicitly deny a traffic. Now this was not possible in security group. In security group, whatever you write, that is allowed. By default, everything is denied. Now here you can explicitly block a particular IP address or a particular IP address range to access your resources in your subnet. That was not possible in the security group. So next thing is about this rule ID. Now you see that these two rules are similar except this rule ID. So when a packet comes into the NACL, which is network access control list, then which rule it should follow? And that is why you have got your rule ID. Since there would be multiple rules where it can say deny as well as allow, so there would always be a chance of conflict in the rules. To resolve that conflict, we have got rule ID. So first of all, you see the last one here. The last rule is star. Star means it's a default rule. You cannot change the default rule. So default rule would be the last rule that has to be interpreted. Any of the other rules would have a rule ID which can range from 0 to 65535. And these rules are interpreted from top to bottom. They are interpreted in the order of lowest rule ID to the highest rule ID. For example, in this case, if a traffic comes, it will first consider this first rule, which is saying that all traffic coming from all port and all sources is allowed to enter. So the packet would not go to the next rule since it is matching to this rule, so it will be allowed automatically. It is not going to go for the next rule. So if a packet matches a rule which explicitly allows or denies it, then it is not going to read the next rule. And so in effect, any traffic which is coming to this subnet to which this network access control list is associated, all the traffic would be allowed. Now on the same thing you can see on the outbound rules. Another difference of network access control list and the security group is that network access control lists are stateless, which would mean if you are allowing a packet to come to your subnet by changing the inbound rules, then for the response of this packet would not be automatically allowed. So for that you need to create a separate outbound rule. Now this was not there in the security group. In the security group, if you allow a particular port and protocol packet to enter into your subnet, then the response of those packets would be automatically given irrespective of the outbound rule. But that was security group. In network access control list, you have to explicitly allow all the inbound rules and all the outbound rules. Okay, so what if I need to block a particular IP address range from accessing the subnet to which this NACL is associated? So I'll just edit it. I'll add another rule. And since my existing rule is allowing all the traffic, I need to create a rule which has got higher priority than this. That means the lower rule ID. So I'll make something like, say, rule number 50. And suppose I want SSH access from a particular IP address range. So I will say something of the effect of 15.23.0.0. So suppose this is the IP address range that I want to block. So I will go here and I'll deny it and save it. So if you see it now, the effect of this new rule would be that if the source is this IP address range and if the traffic is coming through SSH protocol at port number 22, that packet would be denied access to the subnet to which this NACL is associated. All other kind of traffics would follow the second rule, which is saying that allow it. So even if the IP address range is this, if the protocol is not SSH, then they would be allowed to enter into the subnet. So while making these rules, we need to keep an eye on the rule ID. So rule IDs will basically decide that which rule will be processed in what order. So as a best practice, we should always give a proper gap between the various rule IDs so that extra rule IDs can be inserted between the two rules. Now, similar to inbound rules, you have got outbound rules. The difference only being here that these rules will be applied on the traffic which is outgoing from the subnet. Now, what all these rules are for? So these rules would be applicable on the subnets which are associated with this particular network access control list. And this is what it shows here, the subnet association. So here, this is a default network access control list, and this is associated with this subnet which is called demo public subnet. So if your network access control list is a default network access control list, then it will be applied on all those subnets within that VPC which doesn't have an explicitly associated network access control list. In other words, all the subnets by default are associated with the default network access control list. And the default network access control list by default allows all the traffic in inbound direction as well as in outbound direction. But when you create a new network access control list, it has by default all the traffic in denied mode. Having said that, all these network access control lists are modifiable. So if you have to summarize it, let's understand that network access control list provides an extra layer of security. It works at the subnet level. The rules that consist of network access control list can allow a set of traffic, or they can also deny a set of traffic. These rules works according to the priority which is defined by the rule ID. Network access control lists are stateless, which means you have to explicitly define inbound rules as well as outbound rules. So with this we conclude this lesson. See you soon in the next video.